A busy week for tech as CES 2024 brought to light future-forward products and the next generation of innovation. All in a week where big tech names Microsoft and Apple battled it out for the title of the most valuable company. We have Wang here, Constellation Research founder and principal analyst, here to discuss. Ray, it is good to see you. So you were on the ground at CES, right? You were checking out the latest and greatest tech. What surprised you, Ray? Was there any products, themes, trends that really excited you this year?
Well, of course, AI was everywhere, and we've been talking about AI and having that infused, but CES became a car show, and propulsion, and EV was everything. And so if you were in the West, the brand new convention center out there, all you're seeing were motors, and you're seeing vehicles, flying cars, you're seeing like dump trucks, you're seeing combines, all powered by EV.
Was that a shift, Ray? Has it been that way for a while? Or was this some type of inflection point when it was just cars, cars, cars?
I think the inflection point is the mainstream adoption of EV by every manufacturer, and of course, the pure native EV manufacturers.
Ray, we were just talking about Microsoft as a company to potentially avoid when compared to Amazon, but Microsoft also in the news only yesterday crossed Apple in terms of market cap. Regardless of how that shakes out, where do you see these two behemoths advancing in the year to come?
I think the important point is Microsoft tends to be more on the enterprise side, and they've done a great job powering through the enterprise in terms of getting AI embedded, in terms of actually getting to a younger demographic. You know, at one point, the average age of a Microsoft user was probably 50, but they started buying things like GitHub. They started to buy, more gaming companies, and they drive down their actually average age of a user went down. And so that actually made them a lot more competitive. Apple, on the other hand, been much more of a consumer play. They've played out the entire consumer line, but the challenge with Apple is the fact that they've got to get more into the enterprise. Microsoft has to get more into the consumer, and that's why you have that very interesting battle that's going on right now for the last of the enterprise dollars and the last of the consumer dollars.
It's interesting, Ray, because obviously investors very excited about AI. That was a huge theme in 2023, and that excitement obviously helped really supercharge Microsoft stock, right? I mean, really, you can see the investment Nadella makes in Microsoft versus how that stock. What a great deal. I guess the question for Apple though is, what is their AI story? You'll hear kind of rumors of this and whispers of this, but what do you think is coming there?
Well, the interesting thing is Apple has never explicitly said they have an AI strategy, but we've all experienced what an ambient experience looks like, right? Take a photo, the lighting's off, suddenly it looks better. I mean, we've done with gray sky pictures, every picture now looks blue, right? It's kind of crazy like that. And so their AI is embedded in the background. They have a lot of it already. It's starting from the chip level all the way down to the user experience. I think they just have to tell the story more if they want to tell that AI story.
You don't think they're going to put time and effort and money into kind of building out those capabilities? Maybe would you not expect maybe there's some big announcement coming at the big software show in June?
I'm not sure they're going to have a Samsung, the whole world is Galaxy AI kind of AI strategy that was announced at CES. I think it's been here all the time, and I think people are going to see what it means to actually have AI that works versus, hey, we're talking about AI.
Ray, we were talking over the break, and you mentioned that the CES has become an auto show, a car show. Lots to do in mobility, and the advances for AI, of course, it's integrated in every facet. You got to think, but how does this roll out to the public? How does AI become, I guess, more a part of everyday Internet of Things objects as those become embedded in our lives?
Yes, we're seeing it across a couple of fronts. You saw it in energy management. You saw it in the ability to help you as an assistant, anything from translation to be able to manage your day-to-day activities. We see it in smart lighting and smart buildings. They're actually adjusted to your needs. We're seeing it in the health arena as people are quantifying themselves and saying, oh yeah, is that a heart murmur? Is that not a heart murmur? Wait, am I allergic to this thing? Right, so we're starting to see that as augmenting humanity. Over time, what we may get to a point, and that's probably 10 to 15 years out, is to be more situational awareness. So right now it's augment humanity. In the future, it's how do we train the machines to get to the level of precision I want to get to, and then at some point, we're going to get to that full automation that we all are dreaming of. And remember, the automation is only the way you want it, not the way someone else does.
The way I'm dreaming of it, right?
Yes, okay. The way they're all we're doing it.
And Ray, I want to bring it back to Apple real quickly too, because we do have earnings on deck coming up here pretty shortly. There's some kind of nervousness creeping into that story. We've seen a series of downgrades on the street, Ray. I think obviously some concern maybe from some quarters about weaker iPhone sales, specifically in China. What would you expect when they report?
So I'm not sure, because what we've seen over the last couple of quarters is declining revenues, but profits are still increasing. And that's because the services equation of the rationale is actually growing, and services a lot more profitable than putting out a piece of hardware. So I would say that we'd probably see those same kind of trends. But we did supplier checks, and suppliers aren't like that nervous in the sense that they're saying, hey, we're going to see a decrease. And it's mostly because we're still in a super cycle. That super cycle that's going on is because, we've got a lot, probably 250 to 260 million more iPhones to move on to 5G, and that's going to take you into the 15 and the 16 cycles. That's a lot of iPhones, plus we haven't ramped up India yet. So even if China shuts down, and China's economy is really, really bad, right? India's the one that they're hoping to pick up.
Ray, I also want to ask you about Apple's next big product, the Vision Pro. That's this mixed reality headset, right? Now, some financial analysts we've had on, Ray, they're not that excited for that in the near term. They say, listen, they don't expect that to be a needle mover. It's $3,500, right? It's not going to be a big mainstream hit. How are you thinking about that, near term versus long term potential?
Near term, this is the test to see, is there a market for MR, AR, and any of the VR pieces? This spatial computing is the next frontier. Think, limitless screens, right? No keyboards, peripherals. It's just gestures, motion, right? And eye tracking. And that's going to change the way they price it. So the price at $3,500, some people are saying that's pretty high. That's the replacement for one of these devices, and a screen and the accessories. They see that as the future of computing. So this is the first step forward. Are we going to see significant revenue increases based on that device? No, not in the first year. Are we going to see it in 3 years? We're going to see a bump in 3 years. In 5 years, they will have defined the category.
Ray, before we go, I just want to draw your attention to a very long-term chart I have on the Wi-Fi Interactive. You can kind of see it in one of these screens here. It goes back to 1990, and it tracks the market cap of Microsoft versus Apple, and I think it tells a couple of compelling stories. So here's Microsoft, shot up in the 90s, got caught up in the tech bubble, and then it was basically a lost decade and a half. It was dead money for 15 years, and a lot of that had to do with the antitrust probe. And so we have all of this coming to a head right now with different companies. Where do you see the antitrust movement going with some of these companies? And do you think that they will see potentially a lost decade?
Well, I think the antitrust made Microsoft humbler. They gave them the ability to actually they were a lot more cautious 10, 15 years ago, and now I think they've got their chutzpah back. They are ready to go into battle for everything, but they do it very humanly, right? You've got Brad Smith on the other end, navigating the regulatory environment, showing where Microsoft is a force for tech for good, and that's how they've been able to survive through it. Should the election go in terms of a return of the current administration, then what we're going to have is heavily regulatory onslaught. Should we have a change in administration, you'll probably see less so. But both sides are very wary of what's going on with tech and their grip on their populace, as well as their ability to actually set policy.
All right, Ray, we got to leave it there. Really appreciate you stopping by for 2 segments here, Ray Wang, and we'll see you back here again.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
You bet. Really fun.